BXB. It's in the game!
Capcom have needed a win for some time. After the lukewarm reception that the last Street Fighter got, they really needed one of their big franchises to hit home. So here they are with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, released on Xbox One, PS4 and PC. And it does more well than it does badly. I think that's fair to say. I don't love this game, and if you've listened to me talk about it already on our podcast, you already know many of the issues I have had with it. Now, you may not have listened to that, so I'm going to probably be repeating myself. First of all, let's talk about all the positive things that Resident Evil 7 does. First of all, the setting. The setting and the way this game starts is fantastic. It grounds you, first of all, immediately in the first-person perspective, and secondly, in a deep, fake part of Louisiana. And by fake, I mean, fictional and made up and not based on a real location. Because frankly, if this was a real location, you'd never want to go there. Ever, ever. Not even close. It's a horrible, terrifying estate. And that's where most of the game is set. I'm not going to go into detail about where the latter game ends up, because that would be a big, massive spoiler. But yeah, most of the time you're on this estate, especially for the first half or so of the game, and you meet the Baker family, another thing that is done incredibly well here in Resident Evil 7. They are the creepy adversaries, this family of hillbilly-esque, bayou-bidden, disgusting degenerates. There's some alliteration for you. I hope you enjoyed it. They are everything you'd expect from a cannibal, evil family, hell-bent on making your life miserable and your quest to find your wife that much more difficult. The first part of this game, the first hour or so, is incredibly reminiscent of something like Outlast. You have very little ability to fight back. You feel very much like a chased and cornered animal. It's full of desperation and jump scares, and it's an incredibly funneled experience. This is the stuff you've seen in the marketing, and the problem with that is this isn't really the majority of the game. It's a little bit disingenuous, the marketing, actually, for Resident Evil 7, in the fact that it paints a picture of this difficult situation, which isn't really what you're in. Once the game becomes a proper Resident Evil game, you get a gun, you get, an inventory, you get to do crazy things like crafting bullets out of gunpowder and chemical sort of solutions without any bullet casings. Pure magic. I imagine you have some kind of special weapon forge up your butthole or something to that effect, because I don't know where those bullets come from. And that then it becomes a Resident Evil game, and that's fine. I will admit right off, I am not a huge fan of the series of Resident Evil. I've never pretended to be. I think they're fine. I have dabbled with the first game, never played the second game, never played the third game, very much enjoyed number 4. Even found some good things about number 5, never played number 6, and here we are for Resident Evil 7. And that may mean, I'm not qualified for this, you might argue. I'm not the right person to review this game, but it might also mean I'm removed enough that I haven't got these crazy rose-tinted goggles. The fact that I didn't play Resident Evil 6 might be indicative of some of the high scores you have seen for this game in other places. Those that have suffered through what I've heard is a very bad video game experience might be scoring 7 that much more highly because it is so much better. Putting it in first person, putting you in this more grounded, real environment, even when you do start to scratch your head a little bit at the gamification of certain parts of the environment, where you look up and you can see shadow puzzles and false walls and doors with weird combinations and keys, and you're like, well, what mansion would have this crap in it? No mansion in reality would be like this. This makes no sense, but it's a game, so you kind of have to forget it. But anyway, like I was saying, this is a better experience from everything I've heard than number 6. It's definitely scarier, especially in that first hour, though things quickly become less frightening as the game relies more and more heavily on tropes and horror cliches. And let me just point this out, guys. If you're making a horror game, just making things dark doesn't make it scary. If all you have to do to remove the horror from your horror game is turn the brightness up, then the design isn't that great. And that's what we have here in Resident Evil 7. Just making everything so dark you can't see, that's not clever. That's not that smart. I much more would be engaged by a psychological element to the horror rather than just a jump scare, another jump scare, another jump scare from the Baker family. Sadly, the Baker family aren't the only adversaries you're going to meet in this game. When you get to meet the Molded, who are the generic faceless black goo monsters, who are often the sort of the foot soldier enemies you'll see throughout Resident Evil, you will be immeasurably disappointed. They are forgettable, they aren't that scary, they have really annoying animation loops. And the animation loops are one of the things that really bug me about this game, because the combat is incredibly bad. Now, if you're setting a game in first person, it means you do sort of have some expectation for decent first-person gun control. There is almost no feedback to when you're firing the pistol or the shotgun, and then you have this incredible animation loop that the enemies get stuck in. So you'll headshot one of the molded and they'll react, and then you'll headshot them again. If you shoot them, however, while they're still in reaction, your bullet doesn't count. That means you can unload a clip quickly into a molder's face, and only 1 or 2 of those bullets might actually register. So you find yourself having to hold back and sort of like pace your shooting out, which is just insane when you're dealing with possibly large groups of these creatures. It adds a sort of weird extra level of difficulty that shouldn't be there. That's not how a shooting game should work, ever. Putting animation priority over gameplay, that's insane. Who thought that was a good idea? I mean, clearly this is a bit of design over structure, a bit over substance, and it was a real disappointment for me. You know, this game, like I said, has a lot going for it, because it is different, because it is innovating a little bit on the franchise that we've known for so long. It does have some cool emotion. It has some great characters. The story is so typical Resident Evil. If you ever watch one of the Resident Evil films and you think that's really silly, that's really stupid, what a stupid story, you can never hold the games in sort of high regard over that. It's nuts. It's so daft and silly. And when you get to the end and the revelations that come at the end, and it's just like, oh, for real? You're going to tie it into the main series that way? That's the best you can do? This is so dumb. But if you can enjoy it, you can also enjoy it, of course, for the dumbness. And that's fine. And you should. But let's not put this on some kind of crazy pedestal. This is not an amazing game. This is a pretty good game. It's a good game in the Resident Evil series. If you consider 5 bad, 6 bad, 4 maybe too much of a departure from the originals, this does take us back a little bit more to the era of Resident Evil 1. But it doesn't make it great. I'm really sorry, guys. This game is not amazing. We all want it to be amazing, and I think some of those reviews reflect how amazing people really want this game to be. It just isn't. The puzzles are so stupidly simple for the most part. There's loads of backtracking. There's just the most unbelievably dull sort of foot soldier enemies. Yeah, the Baker family is great, but when you weigh it all up, this game is just nowhere near as great as some people have made it out to be. It's not a 9 out of 10. This is a solid 3 out of 5 stars.
BXB. It's in the game.